somebody starts to move well, they can close gaps pretty quickly between barriers. Right now, it looks like a kind of duel here between our early leader, Reek, and now Madeline Franco of Santa Barbara. Reek from Western Washington, fine program up there in the Pacific Northwest. They're always producing great runners there at the Division II level, and UC Santa Barbara, an excellent program out of the Central Coast here in Southern California. Coach Shayla Houlihan is the coach there of UC Santa Barbara. She was an excellent steeplechaser herself, a former All-American and a professional in the steeplechase. So we would expect that the Gaucho steeplers would be technically very good and also a focus event for the Gauchos. It looks like that may be Magruder of Oklahoma Baptist closing the gap up there in thirds, trying to bring back Reek and Franco.
And you saw it right there with Franco up front. She kind of had to fix her footing. That's what can get some of the issues here towards the end of these races, is you have to make sure your footing's right as you go over the barriers, and that can messing up your stride in these kind of races, especially late, can really, really take it out of your muscles. So.
And early on, they were running 85s, 86s, which would have put them well under 11-minute pace. That pace has slowed a little bit, which is why you're seeing Magruder start to close the gap a bit. And as they come up here in the back half of the steeplechase, as we talked about, this is where you make your money in this race. This is where the marks come from. It's how you run that last kilometer. So we'll see as they try to make their assault here on 11 minutes. They're just passing at 7:17 right there. So that now has them just a bit at 2 kilometers, just a bit off of 11-minute pace. So that fast early start, they're starting to move backwards just a bit. We'll see if anybody can kind of mount a late charge and make a run at that 11-minute barrier. It's still Franco and Reek.
I do love the focus that I'm seeing out of Reek right now. She's kind of locked into the back of Franco's ankles, and that's one of the things you want to do, is you don't want to focus on exactly how your form is sometimes, or I mean, you do want to focus on how your form is, but you don't want to focus on anything that's going around you except for the person that is right in front of you. It does look like Franco is starting to drop the hammer a little bit, though, and increasing that gap.
And I believe that's Jessica Crowley of SMU.
And she's making a great push. I don't even think she was in the top 5 to start that last lap.
And that's what we're talking about here, really how you run that final kilometer. The steeplechase really begins at 2K, and you can see how Crawley has really measured her effort well. She's running 2 to 3 seconds a lap faster right now than both Reek and Franco. I would expect her to make contact with Franco as they go down the backstretch, and really has that momentum. And so the key thing for Franco now is, can she switch gears and match the rhythm by being set right now by Crowley as they approach about 600.
If I were Crowley, I'd do exactly what she's trying to do. I'd try to get her right before the watermark, maybe go in with her. You have the momentum right now. Maybe you can sit on her a little bit.
I'm sorry, that is not Crowley. That is Alexa Kaiser of Saginaw Valley. We apologize. We have some sightline issues here in our booth, but we now have correctly. So it's Franco and Alexa Kaiser of Saginaw Valley. Obviously, Saginaw Valley taking advantage, coming down from Michigan, taking advantage of this opportunity to run here in California after training through probably what was a difficult winter, and she has taken great advantage of that. Alexa Kaiser now back to takes over the front for Franco. We'll see if Franco can kind of match that rhythm, but right now it's looking like Kaiser at 9:29 through the finish line.
And that's one of the exciting things that we talked about too, is Kaiser came into this as the lowest seeded athlete in this heat, and now she's putting on the afterburners and dropping Franco. Got about 15 meters on her right now, and anyone can come out of these things. It's so deep. All these athletes are so talented that come here.
And now you can see she's got with the rhythm she's running, got a great shot to break that 11-minute barrier. She's at 10 minutes right now with just about 200 meters, little over 200 meters to go. I would expect her to be right in that 10:45 range, which would be a huge personal best for Kaiser.
Yeah, I think she's got that top spot locked up in this heat, and I think Franco's got that number 2 as well. There's Mary Goodwin, our 19th seed, wearing the hip number 19. I believe she's the one that's moved herself into third place as well.
And I believe this is a debut for Kaiser. She's going to open up her steeplechase career, sub 11 minutes. We'll see if Franco can hold on and notch a personal best. Look at Kaiser coming to the finish line. Alexa Kaiser's going to win. She's going to open up the Bryan Clay in style at 10:47, and now Franco trying to dip under 11. She's going to do that, and our top three will all break 11 minutes here in heat number 1. So just like we talked about, the race starts at 2K. You've got to run that final kilometer of a steeplechase. You can look at Reek, who went out hard, tried to set an early pace, and really there's not a whole lot. You can't bank time in a steeplechase. Reek still held on for 5th at 11:03, but the key is really setting yourself up to close well. So that will kind of be the theme that we can watch for over these next few sections. But a great opportunity there coming from Michigan to what is usually sunny Southern California, but nonetheless still great conditions, taking advantage of that, going 10:47 for the Saginaw Valley athlete there, Alexa Kaiser.
Yeah, and watching that, I expect a lot more out of Kaiser in the next times that she runs it. Having that big of a kick in the last 150, 200 meters coming out of the water is insane. She's, like you said, this was her first time running it. This was her debut. I expect her to be 15 seconds faster on the next one that she runs. You know, you're never supposed to have that much energy as you're finishing these races, especially these distance races. You want to be gassed. So with how she finished, I expect big things from her.
Yeah, because it's a new event at the collegiate level for a lot of these athletes, you will see huge gains. You'll see people taking off 20, 30-second chunks off their time in this event. So yes, she's definitely one to watch moving forward. All right, heat number 2 now is on the track. You can see them lined up on the backstretch. There they are. Great shot there of our field here in heat 2. Annika Stansbury of North Dakota State, Katie Jock-Hims of Marquette, Carly Branch of Utah, Allie Nelson of Tulane, Marta Pascal of McNeese State, M. O'Donnell of Dallas Baptist, Nicoletta Rafalaki of SMU, Sophia Morgan of Hawaii, Colorado State Sydney Peterson, Adriana Steiner of Utah State, Portland State's Phoebe Brown, Addie Cornish of Vermont, Nina St. John there of Cal Poly, Cornelia Wolfert of North Dakota, Rosin Tracy of Loyola, Margot Thomas of CSU Pueblo, Jenna Sale of Miami of Ohio, Alexis Roll of North Dakota State, Central Michigan's Maddie Boyle, and you can see Natty Ruzauskis of Eastern Washington there in the black on the outside, wearing hip 21. There's your field here in heat number 2. So that first heat did go 10:47 for the winner. This heat, everyone's seated right around 10:55 to about 11:05. I would expect that we're seeing women in this race shooting for sub 10:40 maybe. One of the things we've talked about, and we're going to talk quite a bit about over the next 2 days, is those national qualifying marks. At the Division I level, there's the first round. There are 2 regions in the country, the West region and the East region. Being in the top 48 in each of your region gets you into the NCAA first round. At the Division II level, they use a provisional mark. If you meet the provisional mark, then they fill the field with the top 24. So we'll keep an eye on those marks, what it takes to get in. Here in the women's steeplechase, traditionally, it takes right around 10:25 at the Division I level. Somewhere between 10:20 and 10:25 is usually what it takes to be on that bubble. At the Division II level, the provisional mark is quite a bit slower. It's in that 11:15 range, but again, then you need to be in the top 24 in the country. So in that first heat, a lot of women in the top 10 did hit it, if they were Division II athletes, did hit that provisional mark. And we'll take a look at that D2 national list as we get moving along to see athletes and how they rank. And here is heat 2 getting their final instructions on the start line.
Yeah, with a gun test in the middle there, so maybe delayed us slightly, but I think we'll get going pretty soon, as our number 1 seed in this one is Annika Stransberry, as you mentioned, North Dakota. She finished second last weekend at the USD Early Bird Meet in this exact heat, and that's one of the exciting things that we were talking about as we started, is you can get athletes that will finish first, second, third at a lot of other meets, and they come in here and they're in the 6th and 5th meet. That just talks to the speed and the prowess that we have in some of these top heats. She will hopefully look to continue off that strong start. That was her first 3K steeple of the year. She'll hopefully look to continue off that strong start here, as she is our top seed. We get going. The waterfall is one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're on the inside like that, as you can get athletes that want to get out strong. It's easiest to be on the outside, so you can kind of cut in and cut around them. Sometimes it depends on where you are on the track as well. If you're starting from the mile spot, it could be a little easier to start on the inside because people have to come over and you can get a jump. But going right on a corner sometimes, it just depends on how you run the race as well. But you never want to be boxed in early, especially if you're some of these higher seeds, as you can get locked in and then you're running into lane 3, even 4 sometimes in these big heats on the outside mark. So it's important to get out quick, but of course, as you said before, you want to make sure you pace yourself, especially in the steeple, as it feels too early or too easy early on, and then it gets way too hard at the end.
So that's Carly Branch of Utah. She's your early leader here in section number 2 here of the women's steeplechase. She's got things going pretty good, and sometimes when you see them kind of string out early on, you know the pace up front is pretty good. When they bunch up tight, that's usually when things are a little slow. So we'll get an idea of the splits. Again, I think these women are all going to be shooting, or at least the top women are going to be shooting for breaking potentially 10:40, I would think. And again, maybe a few of them have an outside shot at what we would think would be an NCAA Division I or first round mark of 10:25. They're approaching their first water pit here with Branch in front. She's clean and through, a little stumble there.
Yeah, and that'll give all the other athletes right behind her a great opportunity, as that can kind of ruin your stride a little bit too. She's now running on the outside of lane 1 as she's someone right on the inside. This Nina St. John out of Cal Poly that has kind of taken that inside line and looks like she's taken the lead now. But now it's really packing up at the front. Got about 10, maybe 12 athletes that are right there. Love to see how the corner turns out, but you never want to be on that outside spot. Got an athlete running out in lane 3. That's always really, really hard to do, as you're running an extra 5 to 6 meters per lap.
Yep, and that is Sydney Peterson of Colorado State. So Sydney Peterson, Colorado State right there with Nina Branch, and Cal Poly's Nina St. John. I'm sorry, that was Carly Branch, Nina St. John, and then Colorado State's Sydney Peterson kind of make up the top three abreast there. They were 2:06 as we came through the finish line with 6 to go.
It's 250 through 800. They're on a pretty good pace right now, but it's still very, very packed up at the front. There's Margaret Thomas that has come up on the shoulder of Sydney Peterson, falling into second. You know, we're seeing a much different race than what we saw in last one, where we had those 1 or 2, maybe 3 athletes that took off, and the pack was really spread out right from the beginning. Here, it's much more bunched up. This is what we expect from these heats.
Yeah, Margot Thomas there of CSU Pueblo, an outstanding Division II program. She's one of the top steeplers in Division II, and we've seen them perform very well. At this meet last year, they usually come out in full force. Now she takes over, like we talked about in that first section. That first kilometer is really just athletes kind of feeling their way out, finding their spot. Then things starting to crank up a bit and really setting themselves up for that big final kilometer. They were 1:87, so I'm sorry, 1:27, 87 seconds on that last lap. So that's actually more like 11-minute pace. So that's a little slow for this group, which is why you see Thomas going right to the front.
Yeah, it looks like she's really picked up the pace too. Exactly like you said, they bunched up early. That means usually a bit of a slower pace. Now, Thomas has really taken lead, and she's pushed the pace, and now we're seeing athletes drop off as it comes to about 5, it looks like 4 in that chase pack with 1 right off of it.
Looks like Peterson of Colorado State is up to the task of this pace set by Thomas. You know, the gap is there, but Peterson's still running well, trying to keep Thomas close. Now Thomas moving now, really technically looking very good as she approaches each hurdle with good, or each barrier with momentum, attacking those barriers. Clearly a technically sound steeplechaser here, and that was 4:56 through there, so that was an 83. So now that moves her, that's a pace that's closer to right around 10:30 pace. So after that slow lap, she drops it back down to 83. That's going to give them a shot to break 10:40 at this point. And we'll see. The only chasers right now appear to be Peterson, and then Nina St. John of Cal Poly has been there from the get-go. Cal Poly, an excellent program out of the Big West Conference. They always have a great pool of distance runners. Colorado State does as well. Usually a lot of great 10,000 meter runners for the Rams at Colorado State. And as we talked about, CSU Pueblo, one of the top distance programs in Division II. And Margot Thomas is on a heater right now, just pulling away. Two-footed landing there in the water jump. You think that was just a technical miscue, or are we starting to see some fatigue from Thomas?
I think it might have been a little bit of both. I think it was a technical miscue due to maybe fatigue that is coming from the end of the races. You never want to do a two-footed land because that ruins your stride, and it can kind of hurt your knees a little bit too as you're going through. But it doesn't look like it really matters right now as she's dropped, what is that, 30, 35 meters on the rest of the pack in this last 400 meter at the finish line. She's really putting it on now. You never know in these kind of races. Someone can come just like we saw in the last heat. Someone can come out of the back and make a big push in the last 2 laps, but it does kind of look like she's trying to wrap this one up early.
Yeah, she's pulling away, and even with that challenges she had in that last water pit, she ran another 83 again. That 83 on with the inside pit is right around 10:30 pace. You know, we did have that slow second lap, so you know she's set herself up to potentially run under 10:40, maybe as fast as 10:30. She seems like the momentum's still there. She's still attacking the barriers, technically very good. We'll see how this, I'll be interested to see how this water pit is after she had the struggle in that last pit. We'll see how this one looks, see if she approaches with some momentum and can get back on that single-footed landing.
See her grit her teeth a little bit. That one looked a lot better. She came out of it quick too. A little bit of a 1-2 landing. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. That one really depends on your strategy and your preference for the landing, but that one looked a lot better than the last one.
I'm impressed with Peterson there in second. She kind of seems to be staying out of the fray of that messy chase group and is in second. She's going to give herself a chance to maybe run 10:45, and that was 7:41 there. So
yeah, she's put 50 meters on it now.
That was actually an 82, so her quickest circuit of the race for Thomas of CSU Pueblo. Margot Thomas putting on a show here in heat number 2. We're going to take a look at the Division II national list, and we imagine that this mark is going to put her all up on near the top of that list. Margot Thomas of CSU Pueblo coming up on 600 meters to go in this second heat of the women's steeplechase. So she's got 2 more water barriers to contend with. And obviously anything can happen in a steeplechase. We've seen athletes either fall, you know, hit a barrier and go down. Obviously we don't wish that upon anybody, but also this is where the steeplechase gets really tough in that final kilometer, and she's coming up on 400 meters to go.
Yeah, it does look like she has this one pretty easily in the bag. She's got about a 50, 45 meter gap. Actually, that's more like 80 meters now gap on that second place. You know, she's actually a freshman out of France.
So anything under 1040 would put her number 6 at the Division II level. She's got a lap to go.
She's on pace to do it. She's right now, if she keeps with that 82, 83, she's right on pace to run right about 10:30, 10:35.
Which would put her number 6. And a great battle now for second. Peterson beginning to move backwards just a bit. And a good battle now for second.
This would be a massive PRs. It looks like she's only run this steeple 3 times. This is her 3rd time on the year. She's run it twice already in the past month, being 11:49 and 11:24. So this will be a big, big, big PR for her.
Seems like she is laboring just a bit. She should be fine coming home if she can get through this final water pit. But the athletes in 2nd and 3rd, that was a difficult last water pit. She is going to kind of struggle home here. I believe that's Marquette's Kate Jaquims, if I'm not mistaken, there in 2nd. She's been running very well over this final lap. She's going to have a shot to run right around 10:45, but it's Margot Thomas of CSU Pueblo. Struggled a bit in this final 200, but put together a really nice race for a freshman. She's going to run 10:32. She's going to be number 6 on the national list at Division 2. A great run for the freshman from CSU Pueblo. You can see Jaquims of Marquette stopping the clock right around 10:45. That would be a new personal best for her. Probably just outside of, well, quite a bit, maybe 20 seconds outside of a Division I mark, but definitely starting to chip away on a potential first-round qualifier for Kate Jaquims. But wow, what a race. She took over, Thomas took over at about 2 laps in, maybe a kilometer in after that slow 2nd lap, and didn't really look back, was running pretty consistent 82s, 83s from there. Ran out of gas a little bit going to that last pit. You can see how when you get tired, that water pit just grows. It gets, the barrier gets higher. It seems like the water pit gets longer, and you can have a lot of trouble with that. She did get through it, and she was able to power home for the win there. 10:33 officially. That puts her number 6 on the national list at Division II level.
And I think that consistency that you mentioned is one of the things that impresses me the most. When she took a lead, she didn't get too excited. She didn't go out too fast. She didn't try to slow it down at all, too. She knew what pace she wanted to run, and she ran it. And it's incredible to run an 11:24 just 2 weeks ago and that be your PR, then come here and run almost a minute better in 10:33 and place her in 6th for Division II.
Yeah, I wonder if that 11:24 was maybe run at altitude, because that she looked like too good of a steeplechaser to run 11:24. But as you see, there's gains in that event. We are getting ready for heat number 3. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back and set the field here in heat number 3. All right, we are back now for heat number 3 here at the Bryan Clay Invitational in the women's steeplechase. In this heat, we've got Elizabeth Martin. You can actually see her there right on the front of Arkansas State. Maddie Kenyon of Idaho State. Allison Little of Texas. Grace Dwyer of West Texas A&M. Hannah Perrin of Montana State. Alyssa Mraz Fishbane of Colorado. Erin Stonebarger of Adams State. Gemina Antionazzi of Tulsa, Emily Popore of Central Michigan, Audrey Rosencrans of Academy of Art, Brooke McKee of Iowa, Camila McKinstry of Utah State, Kaylin Sheely of Eastern Washington, Julia LaPiedra Stiges of Bradley, Montgomery Allison of UC Irvine, Anna Spear of Wyoming, Hannah Hagman Behrens running unattached. Ash Bowdwin of UC Santa Cruz, Stina Johansson of UC Santa Barbara, Anya Turner of Central Michigan, Marije Hijman of Nevada here. That's the field as they make through their first lap of the competition. As I said, on the front there is Elizabeth Martin. And then you can see on the outside there, Emily Papore of Central Michigan sliding up as they approach their first water pit here in section number 3.
We had some mishaps there. Looks like that was hip number 9. And Emily from Central Michigan kind of had a bad jump right at the end, but she's moved her way back up. Elizabeth Martin from Arkansas State also had a slightly mishap at the water barrier, but that is kind of allowed. Can't quite see the hip number on that in second place, but that second place athlete to move up and kind of close that gap that Martin had on her. And here comes Central Michigan once again right up on the back. And they went out pretty slow. They went out in a 43 for that first 200, but 124 through the 4. They picked it back up and 41 in that second one. And they're running well now. Looks like a good pace as we kind of have a top 4 here already settled out. We'll have to see how the rest of the chase back goes. You don't want to lose them too quick, but top 4 setting the pace early, and it's a pretty good one.
That's Caitlin Sheely of Eastern Washington, you can see, who bridged back up and is in that 4th spot right there behind the Chippewa there of Central Michigan, Papore, and our top seed, Elizabeth Martin, who came in marked right around 10:40 with best mark. Seems to be content to get right to the front and get things going. It's nice to be at the front of a steeplechase. You get clean looks at all the barriers. She seems to be technically very strong, and so I would expect her. She was 2:04 through the first 600. That puts her right around 10:40 pace, so right around her personal best. So she's definitely got the chops to be running this pace, and we'll just see which athletes can go with her and if they can mount charges over that final kilometer like we've seen in the first 2 sections.
Yeah, and she looks great going forward. She set a great pace. Her stride looks smooth, and she's kind of just holding on to this gap here. It's about 5 meters or so, and no one's really been able to close it. She's got really good form coming out of the water, and that's kind of where she's making her stride right now, is they slightly catch her coming up right to the water, and she hits that water, and she gets out of it quick, and she's got that 5 to 10 meter gap too. And that's one of the most important things in steeplechase is, do you know how to go over these steeples? Do you know how to go over the water really, really well? Because you can gain 2 to 3 steps. You know, Martin, she knows how to win, and she's showing that here. She's leading from the front. She knows how to win. She's racked up 5 medals within the Sun Belt so far and is part of a school record-holding DMR team. This will be her 2nd steeple on the year after running it 5 times last year. So she has experience, mainly last year, but she has the experience to lead and to win these type of events.
And that's McKinstry, Camila McKinstry. We missed her earlier. Her hip number was up on her arm, but that's McKinstry there in the gray top and the blue shorts in 2nd. She's been really impassioned about being in on the rail there and trying to stay and trying to keep Martin close. Hannah Perrin of Montana State, important to note, she has slid up into about that 5th spot. Montana State has an excellent program out of the Big Sky Conference, coached by Lyle Weiss. They're one of the premier mid-major programs in the country. Lyle Weiss was an outstanding steeplechaser himself, one of the top steeplechasers in America maybe 10 years ago. He always has great steeplechasers. In fact, Duncan Hamilton on the men's side, one of the top steeplechasers in the entire country. So we know that anytime anybody wearing a Bobcat uniform will be strong in the steeplechase. And you can see Perrin there moving into 4th, and she's running very well. But right now it's Elizabeth Martin on the front, just tightening the screws in this field. And Papore's kind of been there the whole time. She's right on her shoulder now. Now Papore of Central Michigan to the front. And McKinstry's been right there. McKinstry seems to be working a little bit harder than the front 2, technically having a little more trouble, and we'll see if she has, kind of pays the bills on that here over the final kilometer.
Yeah, and then Papore took the front. She looks like she's running really, really well right now. I mean, her form's great. She made a move right in front of that water pit, which is what you want to do. You want to make sure you're leading at the water pit. It can be really hard going in behind at the water pit because you have to pick your spot to jump and you can't overtake there. And then if you mess up technically because you have the distraction of someone in front of you, it can really ruin your stride. So she's opened up about a 10-meter gap on the rest of the field. And this will actually be her second ever steeple, her first ever coming just last weekend at the Golden Grizzly Track and Field Invite, where she ran 10:43. So she knows how to run fast. She's kind of taken the lead here, and she's dropped the hammer. She's really improved the pace, and she's got about a 15-meter gap on second.
And these are women that might be shooting for that 10:25 or faster mark that would get them into the NCAA first round. McKinstry there, she has been working very hard, but still holding on to second. One athlete that looks really good in about third or fourth is Brooke McKee of Iowa. You can see the white tops and the black shorts there in fourth. She's about to go by our early leader, Martin. But right now, it is all Emily Papore of Central Michigan. Strong program out of the MAC. They always seem to produce great, gritty athletes, and Papore is showing that right now. You can see on the split screen there, Papore is going into the water pit, and she comes out clean. She's going to come up on 2 to go here, and she will be leading. We'll get a check on her split as we keep an eye on that mark. Remember, anything better than 10:25 gives them a bubble shot to be at the national championships, or the first round of the national championships. And now you can see it is McKee of Iowa moving into second, 7:41. So that was an 83 for Papore, and so that puts her right around 10:30 pace, maybe a little quicker. And then it's McKee. McKinstry just keeps banging away there in second, now in third, but she is a tough runner there, hanging on in third behind McKee. So it's Papore, and then maybe about a 40-meter gap back to McKee, a group of 4 or 5 that includes McKee, McKinstry, and then the athlete there in red, white, and blue. I believe that is Bradley's. That could be Bradley's Julia. Oh no, that is Hannah Hageman Barons running there in about 4th in the red, white, and blue. So McKee, McKinstry, and it's still Papore up front. She seems to be working a little bit hard right now. Maybe you can see a little of that Hurt Locker pain on her face as she comes up on 1 to go. She's going to be right around 9:06 or so with a lap to go. That gives her a shot to run 10:30.
Yeah, she's definitely hurting a little bit. Her form's changed a little bit. You kind of see the head lean. There it goes. The hand opens back up. Most of this race she's been running with the open hand on the left arm. She closed it there, coming right around. She's definitely feeling the pain, but she's not looking back from this time. She's still got about a 30 to 40-meter gap on the rest of the field.
I know probably that first round mark of 10:25 or faster would be her goal, but she's definitely got a shot to break 10:30.
We've got a kick coming in from second.
Yeah, if you can take the wide shot, you'll be able to see the runner in second. We believe that's Hannah Hageman Barnes. It is Hannah Hageman Barons, I'm sorry, there in second, and she has been moving very well over this final 600 meters. She had a 6-second, she was back by 6 seconds with the lap to go. She's cut that in half. This water pit will determine potentially what happens there. Papore was clean, Hageman Barons was clean, and she's got about a 2-second gap as they're coming home. It does look like Papore has able to quicken up her stride, attack that final barrier. She's going to hold on to win Section 3. She's going to be under 10:30. Question is, how much under 10:30? 10:26, and it looks like that will be a nice bubble mark for the NCAA first round. A lot of it might determine what happens here over these next few heats to see how far back she is on that list, but that's a mark that I think she's going to feel really good about. It's a personal best. It puts her on the bubble to go to the national championships, but she also will probably want to try to shave 3, 4, 5 seconds off of that to safely get her in to the national championship.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're going to harp over the next 3 days consistently is this was our third heat of the day. We already have possible national championship qualifiers. Really, really, really deep fields. That was a great performance. She kind of took it with about 3.5 laps left and never looked back. Dropped them. A great kick from Hannah Burns into second.
All right, we will take another short break here before heat number 4.